Hey guys, welcome to the Pistons Talk post-game show presented by DraftKings. Wow, what a game. Your Detroit Pistons get their first win of the season against the Philadelphia 76ers. Final score 105-95. Your Detroit Pistons. If you guys are coming on in, first time joining these post-game shows, what we do here is we break down the quarters. I take notes during the game, kind of discuss the key points of each individual quarter. And then after that, we go to comments and questions with you guys in the live stream chat. And just, be like a 30, maybe 40-minute podcast at the most. But let's get into this Detroit Pistons win tonight, you guys. So the first quarter, I thought we came out a little bit sluggish, in my opinion, but we did end the first quarter on a high note. Philly went on a 13-0 run at one point, and they came back. Really liked what I saw, just from the starting unit and them fighting back and clawing back. Jalen Duren got into two early fouls in the first quarter, and we'll probably be talking about that throughout these quarter breakdowns. Him and his foul trouble tonight. He fouled out. I think he played 11 minutes, 6 fouls. This was not a good night for Jalen Duren, though, in the first quarter. But end of the first quarter, 26-22. Philly kind of going into the second quarter. The Pistons come out more aggressive. They weren't turning the ball over as much. Malik Beasley bounced back, hit some big time 3-point shots. And I think that's something that I did want to kind of touch on. Like, he was kind of upset that he had a bad game in Miami, hit a tweet. But I'm happy to see that he did bounce back. He's just such a key vet. And I've been telling you guys that he's one of my favorite vets on this team so far. But he did bounce back. Was good to see him, hit some shots. And we came in aggressive in the second half. We were attacking the basket, attacking the paint. Ivy's 3-point shot was falling in the second quarter, and the Pistons pushed the pace, something that we talked about in the Miami game. They weren't really, pushing the pace. They weren't playing in transition. I thought they did a really good job tonight of pushing the pace and playing in transition more in the second quarter. And I got to give just a shout out to Isaiah Stewart. Jalen Duren had foul trouble. By halftime, Stewart had 3 blocks. He was bringing energy, and I thought his defense tonight was so good. To me, I felt like if he did not bring what he brought defensively, I don't know if we win this game. I think he really set the tempo defensively for this team. And I was really happy with just his rim protection, his energy, his effort, communication out there tonight. He was frustrating Andre Drummond. I mean, Andre Drummond wasn't really too happy with him in the fourth quarter. Stu actually got a tech for trying to help him up, which I kind of found funny. But yeah, I really liked what Stu brought in his post game, or I should say halftime interview with the FanDuel Sports Network, saying they were just bringing grit out there, and that's exactly what they did. Pistons actually take a lead going into halftime, 54-45. Going into the third quarter, JD got into foul trouble again, had to sit him on the bench for a majority of the third quarter again. Cade and Ivy looked good. They were both hitting the 3-point shots. They were both just making shots. And I think we saw glimpses of what this backcourt could possibly be. And I think that's why so many of us want to, keep giving them more opportunities to play together. When you have a backcourt play as well as they did tonight, you're probably going to win on most nights. And I think going forward, that's what we need out of both of them. And a night in and night out basis of just being consistent, playing both ends of the floor and scoring the basketball at the end of the day. But it was basically all Pistons in the third quarter. Philly had no answer for anybody. And Jaden Ivey just could not be stopped offensively. The Pistons end the third quarter 85-67. Now, going into the fourth quarter, I was extremely nervous because at one point the Pistons were up as much as 21. Philly cut it to a 10-point lead, and I started getting nervous because I think a theme so far this season with the Pistons is fourth quarters and not being able to close. So I got a little bit nervous. I got a little bit skeptical. I was like, can we close out this game? Can we win this game? And I thought, Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris, did exactly what veterans do. They hit timely shots to close out this game. Duran obviously fouled out in the fourth quarter, got a sixth foul, but Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris closed out the game. Um, Isaiah Stewart was crashing the glass, getting second chance opportunities for everybody tonight. Really liked what I saw just out of this team, but a 105-95 victory for your Detroit Pistons. First win of the season. Obviously, Joel Embiid and Paul George did not play, but hey, in the NBA, it's next man up. A win is a win, and I think Pistons fans will take it. The first four games, I know a lot of us were kind of getting PTSD from last season because we lost 28 straight games and only won 14 games last season, but really liked what I saw. I thought we competed basically the whole night. A good 45 minutes of just gritty basketball. Really like what I saw out of everyone tonight. But let's get into these Q&A questions, these comments from you guys. Right before we do get into that, we do have to hear from our sponsors over at the DraftKings Sportsbook. So we will be right back after this message. Hey, you guys, I have to tell you about today's sponsor, the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The NBA is finally back. A new season means new ways to get into the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Who's draining threes from beyond the arc? Who's crashing the boards and grabbing rebounds? Get behind your favorite player and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of the NBA player prop. First time, new DraftKings customers bet $5 and you get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Every point counts with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code PistonsTalk. That's code PistonsTalk for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 1-877-8-HOPNY or text HOPNY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 1-888-78-977 or visit ccp.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of the Boot Hill Casino Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.com/bball. Okay, you guys, we're back. I want to thank DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring today's Detroit Pistons post-game show. So I do want to get to some comments and questions that you guys were leaving during that ad read from DraftKings. So I want to go to Devon first. He was one of the first comments. He said, I kind of want to keep Tim Hardaway Jr. long term, sign him to a cheaper deal, and let's keep our shooting. I think the one thing that I was really skeptical, Devon, and I do want to give Tim Hardaway Jr. credit and a shout out, because during the preseason, he struggled to shoot the basketball, but these past 5 games, I thought he's been one of our more consistent veterans. Seems like he has at least a couple 3-pointers each game. I know his defense is not locked down, but at least he moves his feet, and at least he's just not a traffic cone like some of the vets that we had last year. I would be open to bringing back a Tim Hardaway Jr. On a cheaper deal if he wants to stay here long term. I don't really know what this season outlook is going to look like, but if they can put together games like they play tonight, I think this is a team that is going to be much improved from last season. Thank you for the comment, Devon. We're going to go to the next comment, and this comes from Chuck Brewer, so shout out to Chuck. He comments, welcome to Detroit, Harris. His play when the lead was cut to 12, and why is he – and oh, okay. His play when the lead was cut to 12 is why we brought him to the team. Yeah, exactly. I think if you kind of look at the forwards last season, you had Kevin Knox, who was honestly one of your more consistent forwards, and he wasn't even on the team immediately. You had to go out and sign him. You had Isaiah Livers, who, um, no disrespect, but he struggled and he regressed each year. Tobias Harris is a clear upgrade over those guys. Even Bojan and Bogdanovich, at that stage of his career when he was in Detroit, obviously he wasn't the same player he was in Utah. But I think that is why you did bring Tobias, Chuck. I do agree with you. I mean, if Tobias gives you a good 14, 15 points, crashes the boards like he did tonight, you're going to have a good chance to win basketball games most nights. I know the first four games of the season obviously weren't ideal. I know a lot of Pistons fans were on his ass, and rightfully so. But this has to feel good if you're Tobias Harris. This has to feel really good. He got booed. I don't know if you guys watched the game or if you guys could hear it. He got booed the entire game, pregame, every time he touched the basketball. Kind of like how Pistons fans were booing Andre Drummond when he came back to LCA for the first time after he got traded to Cleveland. Like he was getting booed the entire night. I'm sure Tobias Harris um, feels great that he got a win against his former team in the Philadelphia 76ers. But yeah, like Tobias looked really, really good tonight. Get to a couple more of these questions and comments. This one comes from Ryan Boseman. Ivy has been so much more decisive with the ball, obviously still learning and growing, but taking huge strides thus far. Yeah, Ivy, I think when I'm looking at his game this year to last year, Ryan, and people that are watching right now, you're seeing progressions, you're seeing development, you're seeing him get better each and every game. The 3-point shot, I think, is the one thing that is so eye opening with him. And we had mentioned it on previous podcasts, like Fred Vincent. I know a lot of times we talk about Ron Holland and Asar, that's why he was brought here, but you could say Fred Vincent has helped Jaden Ivey the most. That 3-point shot looks fluid, it looks pure, he looks good out there. He had a couple dunks tonight, very active defensively. Like Jaden Ivey has gotten a whole lot better. And I'm really excited to see if he can keep this progression up. I know it's only 5 games. We're not going to get too high and not too low on him, but it's really encouraging to see him take those steps in development. And I think if this backcourt wants to work long term, you're going to have Ivy be shooting 37 to 40% from three. In my personal opinion, I think he can do it. I think he has the skills. I think he's one of the most intriguing players on this young Detroit Pistons young core, but really encouraging to see, Jaden Ivey, take steps in development in the right direction. You got a coach now that isn't benching him for someone that is in the G League currently. And I think that's all we really wanted last year is, to see Ivy and Cade get more ball reps together and build that chemistry. And you're starting to see what these two can do together, building chemistry, getting more familiar with each other. And it's really great to see if you're a Detroit Pistons fan. I have a comment from Joseph Bullock. Picking up shooters has definitely paid dividends. 100%. I think that's what we talked about this past summer. If you guys have been subscribed to this YouTube channel, we were talking about adding more perimeter spacing around Cade Cunningham and company. Getting guys like a Malik Beasley, getting guys like a Tim Hardaway Jr., getting guys like a Tobias Harris, re-signing Simone Fontecchio, even though Simone kind of had a off night tonight, but you guys kind of get what I'm saying. Like when spread out with these shooters, perimeter shooters, opens up the floor not only for Cade Cunningham but everyone else around him on this basketball team. And I think Trajan did a really good job his first offseason as the new president of this team. But yeah, adding shooters like Malik and THJ has definitely helped this team. This is a question from Pioneered. And I've talked about this, and you guys know this if you do watch the podcast on the weekends. We've kind of hinted at these maxes. And his question was, you think Ivy gets a max or close to it? Now, for you guys that don't know, Ivy will be eligible for a contract extension, kind of like what Cade got this past summer. He signed for the full max, the full rookie max extension, if you will. Do I think he'll get the max? I don't know. That it's really, really early in the season for me to plant my flag and say, yeah, Jaden Ivey's going to get that full max, that full rookie max. I don't know. But I think TBD, stay tuned. and I'll have it bet. I would probably have an answer midway through the season. I just think it's way too soon to kind of think or have these conversations of, is Jaden Ivey a 200 million plus player on this team with Kate Cunningham? I don't know. But we're gonna have to wait and see. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, I think then you start having those conversations. We're gonna get to a couple more questions and comments. If you guys are just hopping on in this podcast right now, what we're doing right now is just taking questions and comments after tonight's Detroit Pistons win their first win of the season. Again, they win 105-95 against the Philadelphia 76ers. But let's kind of get into more of these questions and comments from you guys that are watching live right now. Got a comment from Joe, and he said, "Imagine if Stu started shooting threes again." Yeah, I mean, you would have a kind of like a stretch five, a pick and pop, like the way he just battled these past two games. I know he had a really high rebounding game against Miami, and I told you guys I was really encouraged to see him crashing the glass. And JB Bickerstaff actually was asked this, pregame, like, why isn't Stewart shooting more threes? And he said that was on him, and he's going to look for more opportunities for Isaiah Stewart to pick and pop with primary ball handlers like Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. But yeah, Joe, like if Stu's crashing the glass, playing defense, and stretching the floor, yeah, like that's definitely a player that we're probably going to talk about a lot this season. But yeah, I got to give my shout out to Isaiah Stewart tonight. Like, he had such a great game. I don't think they win this game if he doesn't play the way he played tonight. You should put some super stickers so you can make a few bucks, brother. I honestly can't, Case. Got in trouble a couple of months ago, but I do this just for the love of making these podcasts for you guys. At the end of the day, this is something I love doing. I love talking basketball with you guys. If I could do a podcast 7 days a week, I would do it. I'm not really in it for the money. I'm in it because I'm just a diehard fan, like you guys watching right now. If I make a few bucks, cool, but I'm not really sweating it. Got a comment from Pistons Jacob. If you guys have not subscribed to Pistons Jacob, definitely go check out his YouTube channel. He's grinding over there. Seems like he's making like 14 videos a week. Every time I go open my YouTube app, I see another video from him. But shout out to Pistons Jacob. Has a comment, Stu turned to non-believers and believers tonight. Man, they were still hating on. I don't know if you go on Facebook, Jacob, but man, they were still hating, saying that like you can't catch a ball. But yeah, like I think Stu has always been a polarizing player in the community. Some love him, some dislike him. I don't really get why. I happen to like him. I think he's playing a role now that I think a lot of us were kind of like, clamoring for. And so like, yo, like, we like Stu, but like as an energy big off the bench, this is what you're getting out of Isaiah Stewart. And he just completely was frustrating Andre Drummond tonight. You could tell, like, towards the end of the fourth quarter, like Drummond was pushing people, he's pushing on Katie. He was getting frustrated because he couldn't grab rebounds. So definitely really like what I saw to Stu tonight. Get to a couple of more comments and questions from you guys, but definitely appreciate you. What up, Ricky? Shout out to you, man. I have a comment from Frankie. Frank, whenever Asar returns, it will be the biggest addition of the season. Beef Stew looks like he could needs to be a starter. Yeah, Asar did practice with the team today, which is a good sign. It's a good sign that he actually got to travel on the plane as well. Still TBD when he's going to be returning. I don't think we'll know any sooner than the beat reporters do. There's been no like clarity of when he'll return, but yeah, when Asar returns, because I think he will return. This team will get better defensively. This team will get a lot better defensively, but Yeah, I mean, the way Stu played tonight, you start have conversations like if Duran is not going to be locked in defensively this season, you start having those conversations and kind of just maybe you roll with an Isaiah Stewart and a Paul Reed. I don't know, but I don't know what's going on with Duran. I don't know if he just had an off night, um, but something to monitor. I'm still really high on Jalen Duran. It's just the effort so far in 5 games just hasn't been there, and I'm sure he knows that. I'll be the probably the first person to tell you like he hasn't been locked in consistently. There have been flashes this year where he's protecting the rim, but for the most part, Isaiah Stewart's been pretty consistent of at least attempting to block every shot that's at the rim. And I think we just kind of saw it full circle of just all the attempts. He's getting better at blocking shots. He's getting better at just switching. The one thing about him that I honestly love is his ability just to guard 1 through 5. His ability to just switch from guards to forwards to centers. That's one thing that I think Stu does at such an elite level. Like Bally had a graphic that the Pistons are I think it was like the defensive rating. Stewart was like when he's on the floor it was like 100, and then when he's off the floor it's 120. So his defensive impact, you guys could probably see it tonight. Like when he's out there, the team defends better, and they get more opportunities to score the basketball. Really like what I've seen out of him so far this season. I have a comment from Urban. We looked a lot better. Yeah, I thought we did. It's kind of crazy though. We still had a lot of turnovers tonight, um, but we still found a way to win the game. Having a lead going into the third quarter and closing out the game, I think was so huge tonight. Because you got to give a shout out to Tobias and Tim Hardaway Jr. They hit really clutch, big shots to just close out this game and not give Philly a chance to try to get back into this game. But yeah, we did look a lot better. I have a comment from Drew Thomas. Hopefully, Clipman gets well soon. Liked him in summer league and want to see him play better competition. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Bobby, because there is some room in the rotation. Like if Ron isn't, playing the best, maybe you look to, play a Bobby Clipman to back up Tobias Harris because he's a guy that we saw in summer league that could stretch the floor. Defensively, he's very active. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe you kind of, just see what you have in Bobby Clipman, because obviously we don't have a Sar Thompson yet, and I think that creates an opportunity for Bobby to possibly, carve some minutes when he does come back. Last time I looked, he did have a calf strain, so I don't know how serious that calf strain is, but I'm sure we'll see him in the next couple of weeks when the Pistons probably reevaluate that calf strain. But I'm really excited to see, Bobby Clipman because I feel like he was the talk of summer league. Like a lot of you guys were just so high on him, and you're like, yo, like I've never even heard of this guy before. Like, how the heck did we get him in the second round? But really excited to see like what Bobby Clipman does do in a Detroit Pistons uniform. Duran might not make it past the deadline. Yeah, like I'll just say this: if tonight he played like if he played the way he did tonight, going all the way up until February, then I would agree with you. But I expect him to get better. But if he doesn't, yeah, I mean, then you start having those conversations. And I don't want to have those conversations yet because we're only 5 games into the season, but it is something to monitor. It is something to kind of keep an eye on. When you have Stu playing as well as he does, you have a Paul Reed on the bench who's kind of like a third string, kind of like emergency grace, break the glass center. But yeah, I mean, you can't have the type of effort he had tonight and expect to keep your job because that's definitely something that I would keep an eye on. But like I said, it's very early to have those conversations. You guys, I know a lot of you guys want me to kind of talk about it. Like, are we going to move him? I don't know. We're 5 games into the season. He's still 20. I think he'll be 21 later this year. But yeah, you can't have games like he had tonight. Like you have to be better if you're the starting center. You just have to. Yeah, for Walker Kessler, Carlos, Danny Ainge just said he wanted 2 firsts for him. I'm telling you, like Walker Kessler can protect the rim. Like you kind of look at his shot blocking numbers, like borderline. Like you could maybe you want to say elite. I don't know. I've heard some people say elite, but yeah, he's a good player. I don't know if I'm giving 2 first round picks for Walker Kessler. I think that's Danny Ainge just kind of being greedy at the end of the day, and he'd probably want like Jaden Ivey for Walker Kessler. That's just how greedy Danny Ainge is, but I wouldn't do that. Um, I don't know, man. That's something that I know a lot of you guys talked about, like getting like more of a rim protection center. But I'm not giving 2 firsts for Walker Kessler. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Like, heck no. Case correct. Left a comment. I'd be checking if the Cavs really are interested in moving Jared Allen. Yeah, I mean, if they're interested in moving Jared Allen, you have those conversations, Case. Like that's an elite rim protector, lob threat, good defensive player. Yeah, I mean, if they're serious about moving him, which I don't know if you buy into the rumors, kind of buy into like the smoke with the Jared Allen stuff, but yeah, I'm sure every team in the NBA, not just the Detroit Pistons, are probably keeping an eye on that situation with Cleveland. And it helps that they got off to a great start so far this season, but definitely I would keep an eye on that. Yeah, like I don't know, you guys. I think trade conversations right now, 5 games into the season, it's a little early. I think we could start having these trade conversations like around December, January, like around there, because then you got up until February to make trades. But I'm sure a bunch of NBA news will come out, how executives are feeling about their players, and what the Pistons' plans are because they have an available roster spot. They still have cap space available if they do want to use it, or maybe they sign someone that they feel they can, help this team win more games. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, um, just with how we use that last roster spot. To answer your question, Chuck, I don't know, man. Like it seems like Jared Allen is always in trade rumors for whatever reason. He's a really good player. I mean, just watching from afar, like being an outsider looking in, because I'm not watching Cleveland Cavaliers games as much as I do Detroit Pistons games. But he's always been a player. Even when he was in Brooklyn, I was always like really high on him. I remember watching him at Texas. I thought he was a really good center. I thought he was going to be just like a good rim protector. But I mean, if the Cavs trade him, it better be for someone like better or at least kind of like similar, but I don't know. Again, it depends if you believe in all the smoke and the rumors that come out of some reporters' mouth, which I personally don't. Maybe a comment from Organic Lindo. Steven Adams would be a perfect fit. I doubt he's available though. Yeah, Steven Adams, man. Like the one thing about Steven Adams that I always liked, and I don't know if a lot of people like notice, like he's such a good screen setter. And that's something that I remember when Troy Weaver was here. Got to know his brother a little bit, and his brother used to tell me like how strong like Steven Adams like was, and like the way he could like set picks and like breaking people's arms from setting picks because he was so damn strong. But yeah, Steven Adams, would be a perfect- like he really would, like his ability to set picks, his ability to just protect the rim, and being a veteran presence as well. I think Houston trading for him was kind of like an underrated move at the time, even though he was injured. They still traded him because they knew going into this season they would need a veteran presence for Elper and Sangoon and those guys over there. But I've always been really, really high on Steven Adams as a player, in my opinion. But again, like it'll be interesting to see because I'm really intrigued what we're gonna do with Paul Reed. Um, because it was at the time when we were talking about like him as a player. I know I'm kind of transitioning into the Steven Adams question, but I'm really intrigued. Like, what are we going to do with Paul Reed? Because him being a third string center has me curious to see like what the long term plans are for him, and if he's going to be a part of this team's long term future. Because you have to remember he's only 25 years old, so he's still young enough to grow with this team. But maybe it's just a short term signing by Trajan, and maybe I'm like looking too much into it. But to have three centers on this roster, um, I'm kind of paying attention to that because you never know. During the season, there could be a move uh, in place. Hold on, let me get to this comment from Devon that I can see Tim Hardaway Jr. Being traded for a star. Yeah, I mean his salary's enough because you have to remember he's on the last year of a contract. I want to say I don't have it in front of me. I want to say it's like 15 or 16 million. Can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sure you guys can kind of just like correct me if you guys know or look it up. But yeah, you need bigger contracts like that, Diva, to land those stars. Like I'll just throw a guy out there, for example, like land Brandon Ingram, right? I know a lot of you guys are really really high on the Brandon Ingram train this summer, and still are to this day. Which I mean, you need some of those higher contracts, kind of those mid level contracts to you know trade that stars, but um it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting this season. I know we're only 5 games in. We're trying not to get too high on this Detroit Pistons win against the Philadelphia 76ers, but it felt good to watch them play good basketball. But it really would. How did we get Beasley for 6? I don't know, man. Like the market for shooters, I thought was going to be really expensive because if you guys remember, I was kind of like on the Malik Monk train and he got paid, and I thought that was kind of going to dictate like what shooters were going to get. But I mean, not even like Malik Beasley, like a guy like Gary Trent, who I know a lot of you guys were really high on and wanted, like he didn't get like what we thought he was going to get. Malik got 6 for a 1 year deal, but he would be a guy that I would be open to be bringing back because he's such an elite 3 point shooter. You saw that tonight, like out of the 5 games this season, he's probably been the Pistons' most consistent bench player. Really like what I see out of him. He moves his feet defensively. He's not a lockdown defender by any means, but I think you're getting a bargain for $6 million. I hope they keep him. I really do. I know some of you guys have mentioned like flipping him at the deadline. I personally would rather keep Malik Beasley on this team because some of the stuff that you see, like he's such a veteran presence for this young team. And I think that's something that they were really missing like last year. Like when Ron Holland got a technical foul, I can't remember which game it was. I think it was the Cavs game. Malik Beasley stuck up for him and kind of like, pulled him back and he got a tech for Ron Holland. Like stuff like that. I know it doesn't show up on the box score, but it matters in the locker room at the end of the day. So that's why I would probably be open to keeping Malik and trying to possibly resign him to a longer term deal because guys like that, I think are really good for your locker room. And he just seems like a good dude. Seems like he's really embraced the Detroit Pistons culture. And, having someone in his family that was from here, I believe his mom is from Detroit. So he knows what it means, to be just from the city. But yeah, I definitely would like to keep Malik Beasley if we can. Comment from Pistons Jacob again. I don't know how you watch these first 5 games and start cooking up trade machines to dump the vet shooters. They've been crucial on and off the court. Yeah, like I said, man, sometimes like 'cause we have these in our Detroit Pistons group chat. If you guys haven't joined it, I'll put a link in the description after this podcast. But some of them, like in the group chat, they put in trade machines proposals every day, which it's playing too much 2K personally, if you ask me. But yeah, like vets like THJ and Malik Beasley have been so crucial, just for this young season so far. You're seeing it. They're hitting shots, on the court and off the court. Um, I've been told off camera that these guys are leading, not only in the locker room but off the court as well, especially Tim Hardaway Jr. So that is something that maybe fans don't get to see. Just know Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley and Tobias Harris, they got these guys in the locker room being really rowdy, having a bunch of fun. And I think that's something that was missed last year. You didn't really see that last year or hear it last year, from people. But like I said, I've been told off camera from reporters that these guys are definitely, helping these young guys get better each and every day on and off the court. Do a couple more, questions and comments, then we'll kind of wrap this podcast up. He picked up 6 fouls in 10 minutes. Thousands of people must have had the money on Duran. That's the only way they will get you out of the game, with either fake injuries or fraudulent foul calls repeatedly. Some of the fouls he got were really ticky tacky, like moving screens, getting fouls around the rim. It's just stuff that he can watch film, Antonio, and get better at. But I do agree with you. Like, some of the fouls tonight were kind of questionable. I know no referee is perfect, but at the end of the day, I think just as a whole, if you guys have been watching a lot of NBA basketball this season, the refs the first 2 weeks of the season so far have been really rusty. And hopefully they can get better, throughout the season. But I do agree with you. Some of the maybe there was like a bet placed on DraftKings that had him, like under 5 rebounds or under 6 rebounds tonight. You never know. Vegas might make the call in, like you say. You never really know with these things. Hopefully the Pistons can beat the Knicks Friday. That's going to be a big test. It really is. I think it's going to be a really good game too. I really do. That's a team that is so star-studded, from Jalen Brunson, to Carl Anthony Towns, who they just traded for, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby. I think where the Pistons would have them is the bench unit. If they can, keep up with the starters, and the bench unit can come on in and kind of keep the pace, keep a lead. If the Pistons do get a lead against the Knicks, that I would be more impressed with the Pistons beating the Knicks than I did tonight against a injury riddled 76ers team. Even though a win is a win and we'll take it, I would be so impressed if they beat the Knicks, because that is a team that a lot of people are kind of crowning as like Eastern Conference favorites to possibly see Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, you can go in and give the Knicks some trouble and sneak a win out of there. I think more people in the city will take the Pistons maybe a little bit more seriously. I know I'm going to rant a little bit. I was listening to 97 Won the Ticket this morning. It was a YouTube video that they had posted from yesterday's show, and they're already talking about trading Ivy and trading Duran because they don't want to extend them. Talking about Kate as a point guard. Like, I think more local radio in the city. If the Pistons beat the Knicks tomorrow, I think those conversations will slowly die down, and we can start talking about this young core and how fun they could possibly be, and a product to possibly get behind. But I think for the Pistons to quiet those critics, like at 97 Won the Ticket, you got to start winning basketball games, and then all these dumb conversations about trading these core players will eventually stop. Had to wipe my eyes to make sure Jonte Porter didn't slip into Duran's jersey tonight. That's a comment of the night right there from Organic Lindo. Shout out to Jonte Porter, Motor City Cruise legend. I didn't think we would get a Jonte Porter reference when we're talking about bet slips. And shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring today's podcast. But man, that is actually hilarious. I love you, Organic, man. You always got one of those comments, at least one of these podcasts, these live streams, man. Funny, funny. But you guys, I'm probably going to wrap up this podcast. We've been live on YouTube for about 40 minutes. we will see you guys Friday when the Detroit Pistons play the New York Knicks immediately after the game. Again, we're going to be doing these all season long. So if you guys do like these post game podcasts and the Q&A and, me answering some of your comments after we're done, definitely hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm, helps get the content out to Pistons fans like you. And I love interacting with you guys, each and every post game. But I will see you guys Friday. Hope you guys have a good hope you guys have a good night. Peace.